Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Deepali Yadav, an assistant professor in the Department of English at Banaras Hindu University. I am offering a Swayam course titled Comics and Graphic Novels in Indian Context. This is an 8-week course constituting of around 40 lectures. Though comics and graphic novels have already been introduced in many of the Indian universities, yet I find a full-fledged course, depending on the study of this genre, still missing from the Indian syllabuses. As a result of it, I am offering this course in order to give a brief insight or give a brief overview to the students about the studies of comics and graphic novels, what are the methodologies that they require to study these visual narratives, which simultaneously are a combination of literal as well as visual form. This week, as I said, is divided into 8-week course. So during these 8 weeks, we will be doing an intensive study of Indian comics, right from Indrajal comics to Raj comics to Diamond comics, where we will be familiarizing ourselves with many kinds of comic characters that we may have read in our childhood, including Chacha Chaudhary, Billu, Pinky, Nagaraj, Super Commando Dhruva, Flash Gordon and Mandrake, and including many others. Apart from the comics, this course also includes an intensive study of some of the very renowned and important graphic novels that were produced by the Indian artists and writers. Beginning from Arijit Singh's River of Stories, which is hailed as one of the first graphic novel from India, we will be traversing this journey by discussing Vishwajyoti Ghosh's This Side, That Side, Delhi Calm, Sarnath Banerjee's Corridor, Apu Pen's Moonward, only to name few other graphic novels. The course also delves into study of many comic theorists and visual artists, including Will Eisner, Scott McCloud, Nandini Chandra, Hilary Shute, only to name few theorists. Now, I would like to give you a week-wise breakdown of this course. Week 1 will include visual narratives in print. As this is the first week, this will give you a brief glimpse, an idea into how to study comics and graphic novels. This will introduce you with a set of theorists, including Gillian Rose's visual methodologies, Paul Gravett's idea of the emergence of Indian graphic novel, and few other theorists who will tell you that what should be the technique, what is the way, what is the methodology to study a comic book or to study a graphic novel. Because comics and graphic novels are a peculiar combination of visual as well as literal, it brings together two disciplines of painting as well as literature. And hence, it requires a different set of methodology, which is very different from the reading of literary texts that are conventionally read as a part of our classroom reading. Week 2 will be an introduction to Indian comics, where I'll be drawing a historiography of how Indian comics culture has emerged. Right from the influences, right from the Western influences on Indian comics, where Spider-Man, Batman and Superman were kind of implemented and published in the regional languages in India, how India went on to create a comics culture of its own by introducing characters like, as I said, Chacha Chaudhary, and characters like Super Commando Dhruva, Nagaraj and others. What happened? What was the politics behind emergence of such character? Why do we say, I quote in Hindi, Chacha Chaudhary ka dimag computer se bhi tez chalta hai? Because we were living in an age of liberalization where internet had made its advent in India, Chacha Chaudhary's character is a direct representative of the times that we were living in, of the economic growth that India was experiencing at that point of time. As a result of it, by studying the comics, we can get a detailed idea about what was the socio-political situation of the country during that time. So, basically understood as very naive and immature and unintellectual form, comics do go on to form ideologies, comics do go on to form and shape India's history, go on to represent India's history in a certain way. Week 3, that is Introduction to Graphic Novels, will be an insight into how graphic novel form differs from that of the comics. There are some very fine differences between the two forms, which are interchangeably referred almost in the same fashion most of the times, but comics and graphic novels do differ from each other and each have a separate set of audiences to cater. Week 4 will be discussed on the theme of representation of Indian women through comics and graphic novels, which is titled as Drawing Women from Comics to Graphic Novels. In this particular week, we'll show or we'll read or we'll see how Indian women have emerged, how the iconography of Indian women has changed from Amar Chitrakartha to various graphic novels that are being produced in contemporary times. Week 5 will be devoted to the study of indigenous art forms ranging from Patua to Gonda to Madhubani, and how they have been exhibited or how they are being utilized to tell the stories which cannot be portrayed, which cannot be read, which cannot be shown through mainstream or otherwise comic art forms. Week 6 will be devoted to the study of graphical biographies, where we will be studying the biography of Bhagat Singh, Mahatma Gandhi and Bhim Rao Ambedkar, to show or to read how the politics of representation beginning from Amar Chitrakartha to various graphic novels in which their stories have been re-narrated, again how the representation has shifted from earlier times to the subsequent publication in graphic novels. Week 7, that is titled as Counter Reality through Graphic Visuality, will reflect on the themes of surveillance, magical realism and many other factors, in order to show the students how reality that was invisible to us earlier has now been visualized through these forms, and how it is important or how it is effectively, how graphic novels can be effectively used to seep in through the reality in order to see what was unseen to us earlier. Final week, that is week 8, will be focused on discussing the contemporary Indian graphic novel scene, where we will be discussing the emergence of various comic and graphic novel fests that are being organized across many Indian universities and colleges, emergence of comics conclave, comics culture, how comics culture is being promoted in India, how it is evolved, how it is being merchandised through various products, how children are being lured towards a particular comic character or a graphic novel. All these points will be the subject of our discussion in the last week. Thank you.